Hi, everybody. My name is Valerie, and I also have Mackenzie on the line here this afternoon. And we are on the Youth Engaged Service Committee for the Indiana 4-H Foundation Board. Today, we're going to be talking about the YES grants that we are a part of, a little bit about the application process, some tips and tricks for when you're applying to make your application stand out, and where to find the application, and walking through each of the questions. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was the landing page of our website for the YES grants. This is where the application links will be posted when they are open on January 1st of 2024. They'll be posted on this page, and this is where you can go in to apply and begin working on your application. One thing we do recommend you looking at is the previous applications and grants that are currently happening right now in 2023. You can get some ideas for current grants, what other club members did across the state to implement their Youth Engaged Service grant. So our application is completely online via Smarter Select. So this is the application portal for 2024. And like I said, this will open on January 1st of 2024, and it is due by March 1st of 2024. So you have roughly 2 months to work on your application. Smarter Select does allow you to begin it and save it. If you would like to save and come back to anything, you are able to do that. So this is the landing page. It does talk a little bit about the requirements that you're going to be needing, and you can preview the application before you begin it. So we're going to jump into the preview. However, like I said, if you're ready to apply, you can hit this green button, begin your application, and go back and save it at any time because it allows you to make a login. So we're going to start with the preview, and Mackenzie's going to start us off here.
So starting off with this application, we want to know what the overview title that you want your project to be, kind of just a really short description of what you plan on doing. And then under that would be the amount requested. The grants can go up to $1,000, but you do not have to request the full $1,000 for that grant. And we will talk about a budget later in this video, and you'll be able to learn more about that. Under that, we have the first and last name of the 4-H lead. You are the 4-H lead. So whoever the 4-H youth member is that is taking charge on this project, you can have multiple 4-H members in this project, but just pick one to be the lead, and that will be your name there. Furthermore, we want to know your 4-H county, your address, where you live, just some sort of details like that. And then what grade you are in school, how old you are, and then your years in 4-H. Next, your 4-H adult lead. This could be a club member, club leader, a 4-H parent, just some more information. We want to make sure everything is done correctly, so their information. And then you'll also need some 4-H council members, I believe, for a signature at the end.
Perfect. Moving on to the application questions. This is after you enter your name and info as the lead and who all is incorporating into your group. The first question that we talk about is the very first description you give us of your project. This is where you will want to wow us with your YES grant, because this is the very first thing we see of your project and of your idea. So make this strong. Give a lot of details here, what's happening, what your plan is for the grant, etc. And really make sure that this is the strongest part of your description, because it's going to wow us to continue reading through your application. The second part is really kind of the work behind your idea that you gathered. So what we really want a focus on for our YES grants is that you determined a need in your community. This is across the state of Indiana. You know the needs that are happening in your community and what needs to be a part of a community service project. So this question is really good for you to describe if you consulted with another group in your community, which we highly recommend. What you did to talk to them and kind of determine a needs assessment on if that is viable for your community. What's the biggest need? Who's it affecting? Is it affecting adults and youth? And really just put a lot of details there on the needs assessment.
Then it's going to
Go ahead.
Sorry, Valerie. Then it's going to go into the short-term and long-term impact that your project will have on the community. We do really encourage sustainable projects here. So if it is something that only you will be working on for the next 2 years, if it's something that can be passed on through a 4-H club, that's really preferred and really recommended just to kind of further the impact, but we do accept short-term projects as well. So kind of just talking about the goals you have throughout those and what you're looking to accomplish in your community. Then we also want to make sure that you have personal development with this project as well, further your leadership skills, your ability to talk to people, budgeting skills, things along those lines. So kind of just elaborate on what you're looking to get out of this project. And then also next, what you're looking for your community to get out of this project, kind of logistics of how many people you're expecting to benefit from this, and then some of the economic ways it could be approved. And this is kind of project specific, but if you can just get the best estimate possible for how many people and things along that line, how it will strengthen your community, that'd be really helpful.
Great. The next question talks about what service to others means to you. So this is youth engaged service. We want to make sure that you as a youth member of 4-H care about community service in your county. And what does that mean to you specifically? So have you been impacted by a community service project, or why do you choose to serve as a 4-H'er? That's another one that we as a committee really like to see the effort and compassion put behind your project overall. And this next question is also super important to us as a committee. Like I said, this is youth engaged service grants. We want youth leading the grant. We want them planning it. We want the youth member conducting it, and we want the youth member evaluating the project. So that's what 4-H is about. It's about developing your life skills. So this grant allows you to do that. And we want the youth to get practice in applications and grant writing and initiating grants and creating budgets and application timelines, and all the things you're doing with this grant is helpful to you in the long run. So that's why we really pay attention to a youth member creating this. And we really hope that this application is built by a youth member, and we can see that through your questions as well.
Now we're going to jump over to the project timeline. This is due with the grant as well as part of it, as you could have seen in the preview. We would prefer this to be as specific as possible, but again, it is a rough draft and things happen and things change. So if you could just give us the best detailed plan that you have at the moment of turning this in. We do understand that things will change along this timeline. We just like it to be as adequate as possible for the turn-in date and as detailed as possible too. As you can see the example, it's like notified of grant acceptance, planning meetings, things along those lines would be really helpful to know. And then next, we're going to talk about the budget. This is also an estimate, but we would prefer it to be as specific as possible. This is kind of estimated. However, if you could get it as accurate as possible, that would be really nice. Just come overall your expenses, how many you would need, what you have budgeted, and then after, if you were to receive the grant, you would fill this out for your final report with however much you actually spent on it, and if it was over or under a certain amount. Under the expenses, you do have an in-kind goods and services. This is if an object is going to be donated, you would put that there, or if like paper is provided or something along those lines, that is where that would go.
Perfect. One additional note under the budget is there is a question here as well that says provide any additional funding sources that you may obtain if you were to receive this grant. So sometimes this grant is a catalyst to other fundraising opportunities, and that is okay. So you can put some notes here, like if I do receive this grant, I am planning to reach out for funding, or I have been awarded a funding from these specific groups. So that shows us kind of how it's a holistic project in your community, if you could include that information there. This part is kind of what happens after your grant's done. So it's not just all work. We want it to also be a celebration. So once you've completed a community service project with your 4-H group or by yourself, celebrate it. And how are you going to do that? So we do encourage that. And if you could leave a little note on how you're going to do it. Some people have done pizza parties or a bonfire or a cookout or ice cream socials with your 4-H members. However you choose to celebrate, please post something there. And then additionally, down here at the bottom, any additional information you would like to share about your project. This is the end of what we are reading as reviewers. So anything else you'd like to add at that point is where we would put that. Mackenzie, anything else you'd like to add on the questions?
I don't think so. I think overall, just making sure that it is the 4-H'er that is writing those questions and then being as detailed as possible. I know they do have a 250 word cap, but if you can just be as detailed and elaborative, that's very helpful for us reading them.
The last part of the application is obviously signatures. You as a youth lead member need to sign off and say, I acknowledge that I am submitting this application and will complete the grant if I'm awarded. And then we do require a signature from your lead adult and also your county educator. Your county educator needs to be aware that there is an application being submitted, and please do talk with your educator before submitting your application. We want you contacting them, letting them know, hey, this is what I'm submitting. Here's my project idea. Can you sign off of it? You're going to be getting an email on that. So that's kind of the very last. Go ahead.
Sorry, piggyback on that too, Valerie. I know that when I was completing my YES grant, the My County Educator was also a really good resource for information with questions I had. So if you do have questions or are hesitant about doing things one way or another, that reaching out to them is also a really good idea.
Yeah, that's a great point. So we want your educator to be well aware, and they may have ideas because they're in the community every day as an educator. So use them as a resource to your application and also throughout the YES grant project. So that is the whole application, not super in depth, but we do pay attention to these questions and review the answers with much depth. So please take your time, save it. You can log into Smarter Select, like I said, and create your own login so you can come back to it. You have 2 full months to do your application. So we encourage you to take your time on it, and good luck.